Believe it or not, I have got an awful lot of complaint emails suggesting that my conversation and relentlessness about talking about the borders coming down between our states is anywhere from boring to deranged, that I'm somehow trying to lecture or hector. So I thought about this a lot today, about have I talked about it too much? Have I put the wrong emphasis on things? And then I reminded myself about why. Why we want those borders to come down, why I am so strong about those borders coming down. And it has nothing to do with politicians, it has nothing to do with lobby groups. It has to do with normal people. Normal people who have invested their entire lives in trying to build businesses. Businesses that are being destroyed for no reason whatsoever than the pig-headedness of premiers. Now, one thing that I absolutely do take on board in part of that criticism is that I've talked about Queensland too much. Tonight we'll focus on Western Australia, South Australia, as well as Queensland. The Northern Territory, there's some good news on that, I'll tell you about in a second, and I know about Tasmania's issues as well. But if anyone needs a reminder about why we have to keep talking about this, think about this if it was your business. Think about this if you had made your life choice to go all in, and then through no fault of your own, your business was being taken away from you day after day after day as the leader of your state plays petty provincial politics. These are the normal people who are being crushed for no reason whatsoever.
Compared to last year, we're not earning anything. We've basically got 2 displaced owners staying with us. So that means we've got no income whatsoever. And it's not just us, that's the pattern right the way across Noosa. So we desperately need the borders opened.
I sold 3 houses to do this. 3 houses in Victoria to do this job, to take on a business where I'm looking after people, looking after other people's property. And because of some person who thinks, I think I know more than you do, guess what? You know, she doesn't know a damn thing. She's killing us.
When times were good, how much money were you making in a week?
$30,000.
What did you make last week?
0. Look, it's pretty stressful. Who knows? I'm doing day by day. I get pretty emotional talking about it because it's just been tough. We need help. You know, you say we have all these stimulus packages, but it just doesn't help. We need people here.
The solution will cost nothing. The solution doesn't require stimulus money. It requires people to take care of their citizens. The people in charge to take care of their citizens. Because the truth is that domestic tourism is the only way we're even going to find a heartbeat for these businesses. Not state-only tourism, but national tourism. Because international tourism, which is so vital to the regional areas of this country, well, that's going to be cut off for the next couple of years. But you would think, in hearing these stories of normal people, you can sense their rage, their frustration, their anger, their feeling that they are completely ignored. What do the people who hold the reins, who decide whether their businesses will survive or not, say? They're not talking about their businesses. They're not talking about their citizens. They're playing petty provincial politics. My state's better than your state. It's real small-time stuff. You can expect that there might be this stuff from somebody who's a first-year councillor or maybe had a rush of blood going to their head because they'd been just elected as mayor. But you would think that people who were part of a national cabinet, who understand that the decisions that they take affect millions of people in their own state, but when they look across the room, they can see somebody else making decisions, and collectively a room that had responsibility for 25 million people. But this is the crap they were playing today in Queensland.
You know, we're not going to be lectured to by a state that has the highest number of cases in Australia.
Premier, this is not a state of origin bet. This is not an opportunity to do Sydney versus Brisbane, old school versus new school, real Australia versus woke Australia. Who cares what the New South Wales Premier says? You have responsibility for your own citizens, and your own citizens need you to open borders so they can get back on their feet. But it's not just happening there. How's this today from the ever loyal, Transport Minister in Queensland who went even further with this bullshit.
On the border issue, we won't be lectured to by the worst performing state in Australia. There are 33 times the number of active cases in New South Wales compared to Queensland. So New South Wales needs to get its act together and get its community transmission down, and we'll all be better off throughout this nation, including in Queensland.
Again, this is not about cockroaches versus cane toads. This is not a bet about whose flag is going to go up when you win a footy match. This is about the people of your state being able to make as much of a living as they possibly can after they have made none for week after week after week after week. Again, this garbage is being played on the other side of the country, where Western Australia is suffering, not just from bans around the rest of the country, but also bans inside that state.
The message is totally inconsistent. It is totally inconsistent. We're not going to give in to that sort of bullying by the New South Wales Premier or anyone else. We're going to protect the health and the economy of Western Australia.
What's the bullying? Where is the bullying? Is the New South Wales Premier and the Victorian Premier saying, well, if you don't do this, then we'll do that? No. Instead, what does the media fall for? They fall for this crap. They fall for the Team Red, Team Blue, Team Maroon, sand groper, cane toad, really base, boring stuff. And remember, all of this doesn't have to be happening. All of this petty provincial politics does not need to be happening, because somebody who knows way more about the virus than certainly me and certainly the premiers made it very clear this week there's no medical reason for this to happen.
From a medical point of view, I can't see why the borders are still closed, but as I said, that's for the states and territories themselves to decide when that timing is right for them.
So who's going to fix this? Who's going to calm things down? Who is the elder statesman in Queensland who's going to ring the Premier and say, OK, you need to change? Who's the elder of the Liberal Party that will do the same for Stephen Marshall in South Australia, Peter Goodwin in Tasmania? Which member of the Beazley family, and obviously not the governor, but which member of the Beazley family is going to call Mark McGowan and tell him to do the same? Because all of this posturing and chest beating is great for the 6 p.m. news. But for the people who are watching it, it is heartbreaking. It is infuriating. And these people already feel about this big because of the punishments that have been placed upon them, because they live in the same state that has a capital that had a bigger problem with this virus than they do. This is not a matter of caution. It's a matter of fairness. These people deserve their right to continue on with their lives, and their government has a responsibility to facilitate it, not to deny it. So I implore, I beg, the people who these people listen to, can you introduce them to the normal people who this affects? Go around the lobby groups, ignore the journalists, because these people are screaming for help.